Not gonna lie, I'm kinda fucking mad. Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about the season finale of The Promised Neverland Season 2, Episode 11. And I think I might be finally on board with everybody that kind of hates this season a lot. Before I dive into all of my problems with this episode, and kind of the series as a whole at this point, in terms of the anime, I've never read the manga. Maybe I should go back and read the manga. Probably. But a quick overview. In any event, Emma has now extended her hand to Peter Rattray, to Rattray, and he basically goes off on a monologue about how, like, after him and his brother found out about, like, the Rattray lineage and how they basically sold out all their friends to make the new promise of this, like, whole new system, Minerva kind of went a little bit off the rails. Well, not off the rails. He didn't like it, so that's why he like started helping children and doing all that. And then Peter had him killed so that he could take his spot. And the whole thing is, Emma said he should be free. Peter was under the assumption that he was free and that this is just what he wanted. And instead of taking her hand, he decided to pull a knife on himself and cut his own neck. So he dies, and I can't say I really feel much about him. We've known him for, like, a total of, what, like, 3 episodes? I mean, like, yeah, sure, he's been, like, they introduced him halfway through the season, but, like, he's been in, like, 3, maybe 4 episodes, and I guess that's technically half of the season in general, but it doesn't, I don't feel any connection to him as far as him being a villain. I don't feel bad for him, and I certainly I don't know what to feel. So he's dead, and the kids are basically like, all right, I guess we're just gonna go. And then they go down the elevator, and it turns out that Emma, Ray, and Norman, and, like, all of Norman's, like, people are gonna be like, yo, we're gonna stick around. They also talked Isabella into going with them, and, like, all the, like, mothers or whatever, because it's like, because of course they're gonna go. They made amends. It felt like not enough time was spent on Isabella. They had this huge reveal of her coming out of the jail cell and doing whatever, and then she showed up in, like, the last couple episodes as a grandmother, and it's like, all right, whatever. It's one of the things, like, it's one of those things where it's just like, if they had stretched this along and kind of showed her doing stuff in the background and, like, being all sneaky, and then, like, you're supposed to think, oh, is she actually a bad guy, or is she still helping the kids in some capacity? And then when she pulls the gun on Rattray, and it's like, oh my god, she actually was trying to help the kids. It should feel much bigger, and it didn't. It absolutely didn't. It just kind of came and went, and it was like, all right, cool. So Emma and the main core team are staying behind because they want to save all the kids from the rest of the farms, because Gracefield is not the only farm that exists. And all the other kids are like, oh, okay. Phil, bless his little heart. I love Phil. If I had to say my 2 favorite characters of the series as a whole, honestly, Phil's number 1. And number 2 is Vilk, the old demon. I love him. He's a sweet old man. I love that guy. Oh, by the way, Vilk and Mujika and Sonju, they're kind of like, they say goodbye to the kids. But as I explained, Emma is not going anywhere, so it's not like they're going to separate entirely. In any event, Emma has a heartfelt goodbye with Phil, and all of them just kind of like, fuck off to the to the human world. And it's way more normal than I was expecting. It's like, they basically show up in like wherever this weird void that they walk through the door. So they walk through the door to the human world in this giant white void, and then suddenly they're in a city, and it's not what I was expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but it's very normal. It's very 21st century. I guess that's kind of the point, right? Where it's the humans are just living their lives. They don't mess around with the demons in any way on that side of the world. So it's kind of interesting to see all the kids dressed in, like, normal clothes and, like, kind of just living their lives. Some of them are going to school. They're getting on a school bus. Don and Phil are on like a regular, like, metro bus, and it's cool to see them in their, like, in, I was gonna say natural habitat, but it's cool to just see them living their lives, and Isabella is, like, she's living a normal life, I guess, finally. But beyond that, it just doesn't feel very impactful, because it's like, it feels like something's missing, and that's because there is a huge story arc missing from this, and that wasn't something that I was totally missing myself, having never read the manga, but it feels like not enough happened between them leaving the farm and getting to this point, so it's a little odd. And this is when we come to the part of the episode that I really solidified how much I really hate how this went, is you get like, okay, so it's like, okay, you see flashes of all the other kids living their lives in the human world and they're growing up and doing whatever. I get that. That's fine. We're not going to suddenly just go into a slice of life show and have them just be living normal lives in the human world. I get it. But then, like, the entire second half of the episode, it's basically just like flashes of Emma, Norman, and Ray and like their crew and Sonju and Mujika basically doing stuff, doing super interesting stuff. There's a shot with Emma on like a weird lake thing and like a big dragon demon. It's like, why are we not seeing that? Why are we not seeing these instances of them connecting with the other humans that are living on that side of the demon side of the world, and kind of like bridging the gap between the demons that maybe are less interested in the farm system, like Sonju and Mujika, and kind of bridging that gap. And they kind of like make a lot of like, they have a lot of shots of like Emma and Mujika just kind of like looking at each other, and it's so frustrating because it's like, well, okay, so one of the things that I like reviewing this series is I like how short the season is. It's just like, oh, okay, it's like 11 episodes, maybe 12. I forget how many episodes the last season is. And it feels like a good bite-sized story. But if you are truncating an entire multiple set of arcs, it just feels too bad. I was on board until about halfway. And then it became very clear that they were starting to skip over stuff, and as somebody that's never read the manga, it's not like I'm missing a ton from that. But this last couple episodes, at the very least, if not more, honestly, it really was obvious. And it all culminates to the last scene where they're all older, like, and not like adults, but like much older, basically. And Emma's just like, I'm home, and Phil, God bless his heart again, runs to her on the beach and is like, they're all back together, but like, they don't explain anything. I don't know if there's a planned third season for this or what, but like, the whole thing is that like, just because they freed the kids from Gracefield and whatever, that doesn't mean like the hierarchy of the demon world is going to be okay with that. They still have to deal with the queen and all of their like all of her like immediate subjects that are like still on board with the farm system, and they just gloss right over it. They don't even like, it's not like there's a shot of like them like fighting people. I don't it really kind of rubs me the wrong way and not even in like a, oh, I'm frustrated with that, but like I can kind of deal with it kind of way. I'm very disappointed with this. And this is like, one thing that I've noticed watching this season is, in the first season, I was excited every single episode to watch. I was on board, and whether I missed a week or something like that, or had to make up a week or whatever, I was on board to review and talk about it, and there was always something interesting to talk about. This season, I find myself getting to Thursdays and being like, oh, I guess I gotta sit down and watch this and try to be positive. Well, not try to be positive. It's all genuine. Anytime I'm positive about something, it's genuine. But now we're just at this point where it's just like, I've been like slowly diving into this like pit of like, do I even like this? Why? I feel like my time is being wasted if they're just gonna flash over all of the interesting stuff and not give us anything of substance. I didn't like, honestly, as interesting as it is to hear about Minerva's past and how he like learned about the promise and everything, and he wasn't cool with it, I would love for that to be extrapolated on. That was cool, but it felt like if it felt like it needed to be talked about way more, especially since he's dead. So it's like, why the hell do I care about him at that point if he's not going to be helping the kids and they're not going to like eventually see him. So one of the mysteries of him was like, they're gonna meet him, and then he ends up being dead, and it kind of falls flat, and then they just keep talking about him as if like he's important still. Other than the fact that like, he's kind of the reason they all left, I guess. And that's another thing. So the kids that went to the human world were supposed to be like, oh, they're supposed to be basically the Minerva of uh of all the kids that Emma and Ray and Norman are sending over. Uh, but like all of the interesting stuff that could have happened after they finally all left to the human world, all of that stuff is glossed over. Like bonding with villagers and fighting the government basically. That's stuff that could be super interesting, and we get nothing. We get absolutely nothing. And I'm kind of mad. I'm not kind of mad. I'm very mad. It feels like my time, while not totally wasted, that's like maybe a strong wording, but it just feels like they could have they could have maybe honestly they could have done that other arc that they skipped over entirely and just had that been this season, and then the third season be them going and saving the kids from the Grace Field. And then again, I don't know if they have a third season planned and they have to go fight the government of the demons or whatever. But if they don't, then what even was the point of making this season? What was the point of continuing this if you're not going to show all the interesting stuff in it? Um, so that's kind of my like takeaway from this. I hate it because like at the beginning of the season, I was like, "Yo, this is cool. This is different." It was definitely different from where we started. Basically, the first season is like a investigation thriller, and then we end up with like season two starting when it's like, oh, monsters everywhere and they're kind of fighting, and that's kind of cool. But then it just like really just I don't like it. I don't like how this ended. It feels like it was wasted potential and they just wanted to finish it up quickly and move on to something entirely else. So that's kind of where I'm at with this. I don't want to spend too much time grinding on this. I don't take any pleasure. I could just keep going. I could keep going. I don't take any pleasure in it. So I think I'm gonna try to cut this down and just do whatever. That's where I'm at. I like The Promised Neverland, but maybe I should just go back and read the manga and do that. Because this felt very, very sad, honestly. Because I love bits and pieces of this season. I loved I loved the whole thing with Sonju and Mujika being like, oh, are they good guys or are they bad guys? I like that. That felt like that went nothing. That went nowhere because I mean, like, again, unless they do something with it in a theoretical third season, which I'm not convinced they're gonna do, um, that means nothing. It means nothing. I love the idea that Minerva ended up being dead, but again, it felt a little flat, especially since like they kind of just don't do anything with that like knowledge, as far as I remember, and they went nowhere with Isabella. She was hyped up. There was a whole thing about like, oh, she's gonna do some like anime only stuff and do whatever, and then she's just gone for like most of the season after being revealed in the first like shot that she's shown, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, she got like promoted to grandmother. Oh, by the way, she's like gonna be with Ratri or whatever. Oh, by the way, she's turning on Ratri. So it's like ah, I don't want to talk about this anymore. Those are my thoughts on this episode and ultimately, I guess, this season. Okay, I gotta palate cleanse myself. I need something good to watch. Um, I'll see you guys later. Let me know what you guys thought down below in the comments section, and if you enjoyed anything, if you enjoyed any of the very negative stuff that I just said, let me leave a like, I guess. I'll see you later. Fell.